NBA trades Patrick Beverly to the Lakers.
Patrick
What does
Beverly
that
to the
mean
Lakers.
for Westbrook?
Now, from what I've seen, I was doing a lot of research last night, and it seems like they getting along very, very well. I was watching a couple of YouTube videos last night where Patrick Beverly was doing like an intro interview with a bunch of different reporters after like their first workout, first practice, and it looks like Westbrook and they're getting along, like they're gonna mesh really well, especially being on the court together, like a 1-2 tandem, putting I guess Patrick Beverly at the point and letting him run the two, letting Westbrook run the two. Of course, he's probably gonna be the primary ball handler out of the two of them, but it looked like they're gonna do well, man. He threw him a towel in the interview. He said, "Thanks, my brother," and some more stuff. So I think they're gonna get along very, very well, bro.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a step in the right direction for the Lakers. Probably gets them in the playoffs if everybody stays healthy, obviously. So Brian, AD, but I don't think it wins them a championship, but it definitely gets them in the playoffs.
I think
Um,
so too.
Regardless of how people feel about Brian, AD, if they're healthy, you add in a piece like Patrick Beverly. If Russ has a better year this year, then they're definitely a team to at least think about in the
For
West.
sure.
Again, it doesn't win them a championship, but it's somebody that you have to respect because, like I mentioned, if Bron and AD are healthy, you have two of the 7 or 10 best players in the league. You get into a
Mm-hmm.
playoffs where everything is matchups. It's an issue for some teams.
It's going to be an issue for some teams for sure, and especially if Westbrook turns back into Westbrook.
Right.
I promise they have a chance. I mean, but Patrick Beverly didn't have really he didn't have amazing stats with Minnesota, but he was definitely like one of those key role players, just with 9 points, 4 and 4, shot 35% from the three, which is not bad. People always say they got to surround LeBron with shooters. 34% in the league ain't bad as far as a 3-point shooter. So that's
Mm-hmm.
really, really good. Now they did get rid of THT, which is surprising to me because THT has been their fucking darling for the past like 3 years, and they never wanted to get rid of him. But I guess last year he didn't really have a really good performance, so they had to let him go. And of course, they let go of Stanley Johnson too, who wasn't really a big piece of the Lakers last year anyway, off 10-day contracts and things. So it wasn't really a thing for them to get rid of Stanley. But THT seemed like they was going to try to develop him a little bit longer than they did.
Yeah, I think if anything, it helps them on the defensive side.
For
Again,
sure.
it's always a league of if things go perfect on paper, what teams look like, what they can do, their potential. On
Mm-hmm.
paper, if everybody's healthy, the Lakers are better on defense. I don't know about offensive side of the thing. I don't think it really affects them too much on the offensive side, just
Nah.
because, again, like you mentioned, the 3-point shooting is still lackluster.
Mm-hmm.
AD before he was hurt was shooting terrible from the field. Bron is
Horrible.
streaky. Westbrook is not really a shooter like that. So
Mm-hmm.
defensively, I think they'll be better. AD's there. He's on the back end. If they can somehow bring in another big man, they'll be good. If
Mm-hmm.
anything, Patrick Beverly is going to be a nuisance. The comment, ironically, the
For
comment
sure.
that Westbrook made that he's out there tricking you all, that he's playing good defense. I mean, like I said, he might not be as good as he likes to think he is,
For
but
sure.
he's going to be a nuisance if anything. You can put him on a ball handler or a predominant player of the league, and he'll just be a nag to them, irritate them throughout the game.
That's crazy. And it's funny you said that about how he's not as good as he thinks he is, because he's been making over the summer, he's been making some crazy comments about a lot of people. Well, mainly Chris Paul, but
Mm-hmm.
anytime that, like, if he's on a show being a guest on like First Take, or one of those shows on ESPN, he's always making comments about players like, why are you talking about them? They don't get no talk in the locker room. There are nobody in the NBA, this and the third. But he made a comment recently. Of course, we're gonna get to the Chris Paul comments, but he made a comment literally just earlier this week about how does it feel to be playing with AD and LeBron? And this man said they're going to be playing with me.
Yeah. So
Like, who do you think you are, my boy?
listen,
My
exactly.
boy, what are you talking about?
It's like he turned into Abdewale from Captain Phillips movie. You remember? Look at me. Hey,
Yeah. I am the
I'm the
captain now,
captain
right?
now. Like, bro, come on,
No,
man.
facts. Like, what are you talking
Like,
about,
what are
bro?
you like? You playing regardless if the Lakers LeBron and AD did not make the playoffs last year, and you did, and y'all celebrated like y'all won a championship. You still playing with
You still
you
playing
are
with them,
playing with LeBron James
like
and
bro.
Anthony Davis, two of the, as I mentioned earlier, two of the top 10 players in the league. Yeah, you
Right.
had a little success with Minnesota, injuries riddled, and the fans will say Westbrook
Westbrook.
messed
Yep.
up. Yeah, messed up the Lakers last year, but
Mm-hmm.
you still playing with those caliber of players. It's not there playing with you. And I mean, on the flip side of that, you have to like his confidence coming in as a role
Always.
player. He's he's speaking with confidence. I think in a different interview, he walks into the interview with all the reporters and he's like, "Good morning," and the reporters are like, "Yeah, yeah, hello, hello," and then he's like,
Mm-hmm.
"No, good morning. We a family, right?" I say good morning. I
Nah,
say
yeah.
I say good afternoon. Y'all say it back. So I'm gonna say it again. Hello. So you like that confidence, and he does
Mm-hmm.
have that little arrogance that will allow him to bring more of a competitive edge for the
For
Lakers.
sure.
But yeah, he's an interesting character, man. He's an
He definitely is
interesting
interesting.
character.
Definitely is, man. Now I would have asked you because you went to school with Chris Paul. Y'all was in
Yep.
school at the same time. You know what I'm saying? You've met him. You somewhat know him. How do
Hmm.
you feel about what he was saying about Chris Paul being a cone and nobody prepares for
He's just talking. I
him?
mean,
You
because
just talking, bro.
you also have to think this is the same person that when a reporter asked him what is it a challenge to guard LeBron, and he shut it down all times. It's no challenge, no challenge. But now he's playing with LeBron, or he will be playing with LeBron. Is oh, well, LeBron's one of the best players to play this game. He's
All
been in the
time. Yep.
league. Yeah, he's an all time great. Been in the league for since his terms since he was a baby. Talking about being 18 and still
Mm-hmm.
going strong. So it's just that's just his nature, man. Patrick Beverly is that player that if he's not on your team, you freaking hate him. But if he's
You
on your
definitely
team,
do.
you love him because he's going to do the dirty work. He's going to do little things to help you win a game. He might not win a
Mm-hmm.
game for you, but he's going to help you, do the little things to
Do
get over
those
the edge.
intangibles. Yep.
Yeah.
Do the things you can't teach, man. For sure. He's got that effort. He's got that dog. He's got that work ethic that a lot of players should have. But he has that reputation of being one of those nasty, dirty players that But he's usually doing it to get. He's a pest. He's really doing it just to get under your skin. And he's
Right.
one of
And
those guys.
yep. And the
Mm-hmm.
irony of it is that's why him and Russ had a beef because in the playoffs, I can't
Mm-hmm.
remember when it was,
I think it was
2017.
2000. I think it was a little bit longer than. Was it 17? Was it that? So
Or
because
whenever
I think
whenever Westbrook was with OKC.
OKC, and he
Yeah, and he was with
he hurt his
Houston.
hurt
Yeah, yeah,
intentionally
yeah.
hurting his knee. Yeah, I can't remember what year that was, but I think you right spot on probably like 16 or 17 whenever that
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
happened. Had to
Yeah.
get surgery and some more. So yeah,
So that's the
that's where that
irony of
reputation
it.
came from though, for real.
Right.
That injury right there.
Right.
Hmm.
And that's the irony of him being a part of the Lakers along with Westbrook is
Hmm.
like I mentioned, he does the dirty work for you, but some people like it, some people don't. And if he's on your team,
Hmm.
you love it. Obviously, you don't want him to hurt anybody, but if he's out there competing, giving his all, then you can't really say much about it.
Yeah, and he also there was also some rumors circling around that they since now that they have Patrick Beverly, they were going to get rid of Westbrook. And
Hmm.
it doesn't seem like that's going to happen now, but Patrick Beverly seems to think they're going to make it to the Western Conference Final. So we're going to have to see about that.
So I don't know about. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen right now. I think what the Lakers are doing and I'm gonna spin it back to you on what your actual thought is. I think what the Lakers
Mm-hmm.
are doing is publicly they're saying they're good with Russell Westbrook, Darvinham is his name,
Darvingham,
Darvinham.
yeah, that's the coach. Yeah, Darvingham's the
Yeah,
coach. Mm-hmm.
Darvinham is. I think he wants to keep Westbrook, but I think the Laker Nation is putting the pressure on the management to get rid of Westbrook and pull in
Mm-hmm.
more pieces that will make them a championship team. So I think publicly the Lakers are doing the right thing, saying that they're good with Westbrook, but privately, eventually it'll come out to light as everything in the NBA does. But privately, they're trying to find a deal that gets that contract off of their books and they can pull in some more
Mm-hmm.
pieces to make them a championship team. Everybody's looking at the Buddy Hield and Miles Turner
Mm-hmm.
option.
That's what I was thinking about. I was going to
Um,
say that too. Yeah.
yeah, but I don't think they want to get rid of those two first round draft picks. But in reality, we've talked about this many times, Six. It doesn't matter if they have a first round draft pick or not. They're lost. They're in Los Angeles. They're a storied franchise in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
they can pull they can get anybody they want to realistically if they're willing
That's a fact.
to pay for it. So those draft picks, while it helps, um, I don't think it holds much weight because of who they are as a franchise. And so
Nah,
ultimately,
facts.
I think Westbrook is, if they can't find anybody, they're just gonna say whatever, we'll keep him, but they're
Mhm.
actively trying to get rid of him.
Yeah, I think sometime before the trade deadline they're gonna try to move him for sure. I was gonna speak on the Buddy Hield and the Miles Turner trade because that's the one that's been coming up a lot, in the circles and in the media, and in all the avenues that it comes out for sports. But like you said, if they're not trying to get rid of those picks, like you said, it the picks don't really matter to me. Whenever you're LA or somebody like, I don't know, say San Antonio or somebody like say Chicago, not now, but like maybe like back in the day with Chicago. But the picks is if you have that kind of franchise and
Yep.
where the location and the story of franchise and the prestige that organization has, the draft picks, although would be nice to get some young talent down the road, but you're trying to win now with LeBron, who's on the back end of his career. Still balling, but on the
Mm-hmm.
back end of his career. He's going to ball until he gets the ball with his son, which probably be within the next 3 to 4 years, which he has that contract. So if
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to win now with LeBron, you make those moves now. Fuck those draft picks. You
Right.
do what you do to get those core pieces around him. So that way, whenever they come, they can mesh with Bron, mesh with Patrick Beverly, get that core chemistry around them, and you can go ahead and make a championship run. And then, you know, with those moves you made, then I guess what Patrick Beverly said, y'all can make it to the Western Conference Finals. But as constructed right now, playoff bound for sure. But Western Conference Finals, I doubt that for sure.
Yeah. It's just for me, man. I don't know why Bron tried to change the recipe when
Mm-hmm.
he got to the Lakers. So historically, the formula for helping LeBron win is you surround him with some players that are a little bit athletic, can play defense, and can shoot the three, so they can space the floor. He can get in the lane, do what he does around the basket, or dish it out. When he got to
Right.
the Lakers, they wanted to change that. He wanted to change that. I'll say they, because Magic was involved with it at the time, and then Rob Pelinka. They wanted to change that formula. They wanted to get more playmakers around him and take the ball out of his hand. And as we've
Mm-hmm.
seen, when they got AD, it worked because they did have some defenders. They also had more shooters than they have on the team now. But
Right.
now it's, you see it doesn't work because it's no space on the floor. He can't get in the
Facts.
lane. AD can't get in the lane. You don't have anybody that can stretch the floor. So I think they still need to get a little bit more shooting
They definitely do.
around Braun. But yeah, regardless if they have shooting or not, if everybody's healthy, if AD doesn't get hurt every other week, no offense, AD, but if he doesn't get
Facts.
hurt every other week, then they can make it to the playoffs. Whether it's a play-in game or not, they can make it to playoffs on those two alone.
For
The
sure.
regular season is all about your surviving and enduring. Your role
Mm-hmm.
players winning you a game here and there, and then when you get into the playoffs, that's when your stars show up and win you
Your
16
stars
games.
gotta go crazy.
And
For sure,
so
for sure, for sure.
we'll see. I think, like you started out the segment with, or this portion of the segment, I think Russ and AD are playing a part right now. Everything looks good, but with some of those comments that Patrick Beverly has made, I wonder if he continues to make those along the year. Does it start to rub some of the players the wrong way, especially if they're not winning how they thought they were going to win?
Right. Nah, facts. It probably will if he keeps on making the comments, but we're gonna see how the Lakers rock.
Right.
Now on to the next part of the segment. We got Donovan Mitchell, we got Spyda getting
Mm-hmm.
traded to the Cavs from Utah, and that seems to be waking up a lot of people on the Eastern Conference because that kind of puts them in contention. Even though the Eastern Conference they've been kind of stacked here recently with you got Minnesota, you
Mm-hmm.
got you got Brooklyn, who's of course with Kyrie and KD and Ben Simmons, they're
Minnesota.
gonna make some
Wait.
noise.
Minnesota's in the East. I thought it was in the West.
The Bucks,
Milwaukee. You mean? My fault. Okay.
Milwaukee. That's what I
Yeah.
missed. Okay, Milwaukee.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
fault.
Yeah.
My fault.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
fault.
Okay. Okay.
Milwaukee. You're right.
Okay.
You're right. Of course, you got the Celtics up at the top as well. They just went
Yep.
to the finals. 76 is gonna make some noise with Joel Embiid and James Harden.
Mm-hmm.
So you still got the Heat.
Mm-hmm.
You still got a lot of teams. You got 5 or 6 teams that are gonna make some noise in the Eastern Conference. But with Spider going to the Cavs, They might make some noise. What you think?
I don't know about this one, man. I know all the talking heads are high on this. Like you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, they're saying that they could be a top 3 team in the East, but
Mm-hmm.
you just rattled off at least 4 teams that you could be placed above them. But then
Agreed.
you also
Agreed.
got to think about not only the Nets, the Celtics, Philly, Milwaukee,
Mm-hmm.
Miami. I mean, Atlanta has Trey Young. They picked up your boy from the Spurs, Javante. Ah, shoot, I forgot his name.
Murray, last name
Murray,
Murray.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
Devontae Murray, and then you got Chicago
Dejounte
who
Murray. Yeah.
played. Yeah, Dejounte. There you go. I said his name wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And
All
then you
good.
also have Chicago. So that's what 7, 8 teams right there
So you
that
got
are going
Bucks,
to compete
Sixers,
if Giannis
Celtics,
comes back. If Giannis comes
Nets.
back from his little
Mm-hmm.
injury in time and they can make a run, because you don't know what is going to happen with Giannis and the ankle injury that he just recently had.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, the Bucks, like you mentioned, I didn't mean to cut you off. My bad.
No, you're good.
But that's at least 7 teams that
I would say six. I would say
6.
Bucks,
Okay.
Sixers,
Yep.
Nets, Miami, Chicago,
Yep.
and then you still then you got Cleveland. I think because you got to be the sixth seed to get in the play in, right? Or
To
is it
not be in the play in,
to be in the play in? What seed you have to have? I can't remember.
it's the 7th. Yeah, I think you're right. It's the 6th, 7th, 8th, and ninth
Six, seven, eighth, and ninth. So
seeds.
if they're the top and if they're in the top six, they're in the playoffs. So but see this is the reason why I think Cleveland will make a run. I think they'll
Mhm.
at least be playing because just last year they were
They didn't make the
terrible.
playoffs last year.
They didn't make the playoffs last year because they were terrible on offense. I think they were number. I see my notes. Right, let me see my notes. They were 20 out of 30. They were 20th in offensive efficiency. Terrible,
Mhm.
but they were fifth in their defensive rating because of Evan Mobley and Jared Allen.
Mhm.
So and of course, what I'm saying, you still got Darius Garland out there at the point guard. He's a pretty good defender, even though Spyda hasn't been rated as a high defender in his career as of late. You got Darius Garland, who's a really good on-ball defender. You got Evan Mobley, who's a young, just turned 21, who's a young star who has some defense, has some all NBA defense votes this year as a second year player. You
Mhm.
got Jared Allen, who's always one of the best defensive centers in the league. So defensively, they're gonna be good. I think if Spyda can add a little bit of offense to this team, I think they got a chance, bro. As far
And
as
so
yeah, as
and
far
so
as that's
that's
concerned.
yeah, and that's where I'm torn at because yeah, they were a good defensive team. They have a good young nucleus,
Mm-hmm.
but if they were struggling on offense, and to me, on paper, it looks like Garland and Donovan Mitchell are the same player. So they're naturally going to take some shots away from each other. And now it does help that they don't really have any other offensive threat. So they can probably feed off each other, but
Mm-hmm.
they're the
Mm-hmm.
same player. So at some point in time, it's going to be like, and I hate always referencing LeBron, but I follow LeBron more than probably anybody in the league.
Likewise.
It's going to be like when he first went to Miami. He was deferring
Mm-hmm.
to D Wade because it was D Wade's team. Now is Garland going to defer to Mitchell, and then it's going to cause some confusion when it's crunch time and they need a bucket. You know what I mean? So that's something to think about, and that's why I'm like, I know talking heads are, talking heads being all the media circuits that talk about sports 24/7. I
Mm-hmm.
know they are high on this, and rightfully so. I just don't see it turning around directly for them next year.
I got you. Well, I think Donovan Mitchell will be the Batman and Robin tandem of him and Garland.
Hmm.
Garland is definitely a more of a he's still a score force guard because he kind of had to be because him and Colin Sexton were the only offensive threats on that team last year.
Hmm.
And Colin Sexton was even kind of hurt last year too. He didn't play too many games. Well, he played games, but he missed a lot of time with injuries as well. But Darius Garland had to be a lot of the offensive threat because Colin Sexton was the only other person, and he was hurt most of the time. So
Right.
I think Donovan Mitchell would be that Batman. Darius Garland is definitely more of a distributor than Donovan Mitchell.
Hmm.
So I think they'll mesh well. They don't have much around them, which is the problem as far as scoring threats. So they're going to have to take a lot of the shots and have to put up a lot of the offense. But if Donovan Mitchell can add just a little bit of offense and get them maybe even in the top third of the NBA, maybe 10 to 12, and
Yep.
opposed to being 20 on offensive efficiency, and they still be top 5 in defense, they got a chance. They
Well,
got a
we'll
chance.
see. We'll see. I know you might be high on it, or you feel differently than I do. I'm
Yeah.
a wait and see guy. It
Yeah,
sounds good.
true.
It looks good on paper. Everybody always that. I mean, that's the job of these teams and the media is to hype certain moves up to draw in
Mm-hmm.
more fans. But I'm a wait and see guy. We'll see what happens when the actual ball goes in the hoop
Mm-hmm.
and the ball goes up for the
Yeah, because
first
they
time.
gave up a lot. They gave up a lot to get Donovan Mitchell. They gave up Laurie Markkinen. They gave up. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. I ain't gonna lie. Fuck it. I ain't gonna say
Right.
Donovan. They gave up Colin Sexton,
Yeah.
3 unprotected first rounds and 2 second rounds,
Hmm.
and all the fucking Cavs took was his 4-year contract. So they gave up all of those things for Donovan Mitchell, and Utah got to be rebuilding, bro. They got to be, because they already gave up Gobert, then they
Hmm.
gave up Spyda. They talking about moving Bogdanovich, Jordan Clarkson, and Mike Conley, which is
Hmm.
really the only other players they have on the team for real. So they got to be rebuilding. So it's gonna be Colin Sexton and a bunch of me out there running with Colin Sexton. Like
Yeah. I mean,
that's all it's gonna be.
they're definitely rebuilding. Danny Ainge is the new general manager of the team, so he's looking to put his stamp on the Utah Jazz just like he did with the
Mm-hmm.
Boston Celtics. But again,
Right.
we'll see how everything plays out. It's something to talk about. It's definitely exciting for the Cavs to get a star back into Cleveland. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I the reason I'm not high on it is because I don't know much about Cleveland and who really does other than Cavs fans if LeBron's leaving. So
That's a fact. If LeBron
yeah,
ain't there, who really knows, for real,
right,
for real. But
right.
it should be an interesting NBA season between, of course, the Lakers getting Patrick Beverly. Now the Cavs got Donovan Mitchell. East Coast and West Coast. It's gonna be dope. I think it's gonna be a good season, man. It's gonna be fun to watch for sure.
Yep.
But see, the crazy thing about that is Chris Rock was not gonna do that.
Exactly.
Like, bro,
So it
brother to
is
brother, you just slapped me, bro. I need my 1-on-1. I need my
right.
ones. We need to shoot the ones outside, my boy, because you just slapped me in front of all these people here and 10 million watching at home. I need to fight you, my boy. Like, it's time to scrap.